Hey everybody, it's Paul Ramsey, and I'm joined today by John Cerbone, who is presenting a 1.5, John, hour?
2 hour.
2 hour,
15
2 hour
minutes.
session at the 2017 NGH convention. He is presenting Hypnosis, the next generation of innovative secrets and methods to enhance session results. That's a title right there, John.
It took a little while to work that one up, but it's true. I put a lot of thought into this program, you know?
That's cool. Well, listen, you've got a lot going on. I'm looking at your learning directives in the guide. I love to look at the guide and see what you're going to be bringing to people. And I mean, it says here, next generation of intake management and techniques, new view of suggestion writing, systematic suggestions to target your clients' weak spots. There's a lot of good stuff for us to talk about here. But before we get into that, the real meat of it, I just want to backtrack a little bit. And I want you to tell me, give me a brief, and not so much for me because we've hung out before and I know a little bit about you, but more for our viewers, give me a brief history of how you got into hypnotism.
It turns out I've been practicing hypnotism most of my life. When I was a little boy, 3 and 4 and 5 years old, my parents would say, go up to your room and pick it up before dinner, you know, pick up your toys, whatever. And what I always tended to do was lie down on the bed, deep breathe, put myself somewhere else, and then get up basically in the equivalent of a trance state and clean the room. So when I had to clean my room growing up, I didn't have a sore back and lead legs like all the other kids in the house or in the neighborhood. So in grammar school, there were kids, not right here, but kids like out there someplace that would seek me out. They were thinking about running away from home. They were very upset about certain aspects of their home life. And what I began to do at a young age was externalize what I did with me personally to them. And when they opened their eyes, they no longer wanted to run away from home. In high school, it was run away from home, or sometimes they were talking about suicide in some cases. Same thing in college. Was it every day? Sometimes. Was it every week? Not often. Was it every month? Once in a while? It depended. It was very sporadic. But I was working with people most of my life. So eventually, I got into the corporate America thing, and I was working in companies, in sales. You know, go out there and sell, no matter what. And I was motivating other salespeople to go out and sell, and I was using these techniques. And eventually, demand started to turn around after some work I did. I worked for some really heavy-duty sales companies. And I eventually brought this out as a workshop program. And it sort of caught on and snowballed. And after a workshop where I had several hundred people show up, a fellow walked up to me and said, "You're one heck of a hypnotist." I went, "A hypno what?" And he said to me, "A hypnotist." And he said to me, "Why don't you get certified with me? And why don't we start a career in hypnotism with you?" And that was the first of 40-something certifications I currently hold. I'm board certified with the National Guild of Hypnotists. I'm a fellow of the National Guild of Hypnotists. This April, I'll be celebrating 21 years as a certified instructor with the Guild.
That's awesome.
I've written 3 best-selling books in the field of hypnosis. I've produced DVDs. All of them are 6 continents. I've yet to crack that lucrative Antarctica market yet, you know. And from that, I just continued to take training. I was very happy this past convention in 2016 to be awarded Order of the Braid. So I'm out there banging the drum. This is my full-time practice. And I love it. Whether I'm doing clinical or teaching or inventing new stuff in the field of hypnosis, so far to date, I've created 78 speed inductions. And I keep looking for new and better ways to innovate and make this better because I see the beauty in this. And as much as we're standing on the shoulders of giants in the past, whether it was our late friend, Orman McGill, or other famous people from the past, there's so much more coming down the road for what we can do with this to take this to a new level, a next generation. And that's why I'm doing this program.
That's cool. So I want to just push you to drill a little bit deeper on that. I mean, you've got decades of experience. You've done all these, you've written books and you've done so many different things. You know, for someone who maybe it's their first time coming to the convention, or maybe it's their 10th time coming to the convention, when they open that guide of all the things that people present on at the convention each year, why is this topic important to you?
I'm really glad you asked me that. What many people I'm finding are trained to do is what we're calling in the profession lately the 1950s, 1960s approach, depending upon who you talk to. So consequently, you're not driving a car from the 1950s or 60s on a daily basis, probably, right? Like I had metal dashboards in those days. If you're in an accident, just wipe the blood off and keep driving, you know.
Right.
Now we have airbags. Now we have safety features, you know, collision warning, this kind of thing. In my car, for example, if I back up, there's the collision warning. So my goal is to take all of our stuff and bring it fully into the 21st, even 22nd century at some point. Sooner or later on Star Trek, they might be pulling out one of my books, you know, who knows? So the point is to take this stuff to a new place. So I've come up with a wide variety of different ideas and techniques. Many of them are encapsulated in this book I wrote called Power Hypnosis. And the idea is I'm going to be teaching stuff from this book because people have demanded I teach this stuff from this book. For example, in the training classes at CI, we talk about suggestions need to be framed in the present tense. But what about like into the future? You know, I mean, you're only living in this moment, but you need to start thinking long term. So what if we start speaking to the subconscious mind and putting that to work for us in a different way? What if, for example, what if the suggestion is beginning now and for the rest of your life, for the rest of your very existence, you are and you remain smoke-free forever? What if, on another hand, on the flip side of that coin, we never had a person who smoked at all? What if I brought them back to the age of 15, a year before they picked up cigarettes, as if they never smoked in the first place? This is groundbreaking stuff in terms of the way I work the suggestions. It's groundbreaking stuff in terms of the way I write suggestions. It's groundbreaking stuff in the way I'm thinking about suggestions. What if, for example, a person comes to see you and they're traumatized, if you're a clinical hypnotist or a hypnotherapist in some states, depending upon what you call yourself. And the trauma happened at 12:15 on a Tuesday, 28 years ago. Okay, that could happen. And that trauma forced them to start picking up cigarettes to release stress or overeating issues or other things. But if you regress them even if you're able to regress people, which is I'm certified in that many times, different certifications, the classes I've taken, it was actually the second certification I ever actually got back in the early days, in the late 80s. But what if you regress them back and the most they can give you is 12:16? That 1 minute further back, they're never going to get there. It's too terrible. It's too traumatic. They'll never get it. They could be in talk therapy for 30 or 40 or 50 years. They could be regressed and they'll never get to that point. Well, another point I've come up with is to get them to forgive and release this in ways known or unknown to them. When I was a little boy and they first brought me to church, and it still exists in the Catholic Church and probably some other churches, Heavenly Father, protect us from things known and unknown to us. Well, there's a lot of unknowns going in our minds, correct? Morning, noon, and night. We're reacting and favoring things. I mean, why do I like chocolate? Maybe somebody else likes vanilla or strawberry. Yeah. There's some reason that I'm drawn to these things. Maybe it's nutritional. Some people will tell you that. But maybe there's something in the back of my mind that connects me to that. Well, how about we forgive whatever it is in ways known and unknown to us? Release it. Well, how are you certain that's happening in a private session? Well, you're actually doing it yourself right now as you're responding to what I'm saying. One of the things I'm going to be teaching is getting a person into a trance state and getting a subconscious agreement from them. Well, how are you certain the subconscious mind is going to be agreeing? You're doing it right now. You're nodding. I get people in my hypnosis sessions in very deep trance states, and I get them to forgive these things in ways known and unknown to them that will be meaningful to them. And the way I'm certain I'm going to be getting an agreement is I'm getting a head nod while they're in a deep trance state. If they're nodding their head in deep trance to me, what that means is their subconscious mind is giving me the agreement and the permission to release whatever it is. And in another part of what I'm teaching, begin the next chapter of their life. Every person who comes to see a clinical hypnotist is looking to begin a brand new and better chapter of their life. Otherwise, why do they show up there? But right. When I've worked with children, I've learned, for example, a child knows this is broken, let's fix it. So when I've worked with children who have been traumatized, I remember years ago after the World Trade Center experience and the disaster that happened there was a little boy that was brought to me and he was screaming, crying at 3 a.m. because his mother came to the school last to pick him up. And he thought, what if she was in the buildings, because the teachers wheeled these television sets in and forced these grammar school kids to watch this terrible thing happening. And at 3 a.m, he'd sit bolt upright in bed and start screaming. I did a session with him. And as a child, this was broken. We fixed it. He moved on. And a year later, the TVs were brought back in again, and he started screaming again. And I very sternly explain to his parents that not only would I do the session fine, not a problem, but also they would need to contact the principal and say no more televisions in the room. And I was about to do a stage show at the county fair here, and this little boy is running with his arms out. And like most adults, you don't know what that's about. You just lean down. And he jumped up and threw his arms around my neck, kissed me on the side of the face, and said, "I love you. I'm all better now." And I looked over his shoulder, and there was his dad. It was so like awe in my heart. It was such an experience. I'll never forget it. At this point, because it's so long ago, he's probably in high school or college and driving a car at this point, but whatever it is. But with an adult, they've made what they're doing who they are.
Right.
I am a smoker. I am a person who's eating too much of this stuff. I'm a person who is walking around with all this stress. I'm a person who doesn't sleep. That's not who they are, but that's who they have veiled themselves into being. So once we lift that veil, and we dissolve the veil, and we decide, you're more than that. You're better than that. You're mightier than that. You can rise up to meet any challenge in your life. You immediately get them into the next generation chapter of their life. They're moving on. They're no longer held back by this identity, this false caricature of themselves that they're living from.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you give them something else to do. You release it. So there's ways to do that. Like I just mentioned before, I call it time travel. You know, what if they come to see you and you suggest to them that they actually quit smoking, for example, one of the basic sessions that we do. If they quit smoking 20, 30, 35 years ago, are they likely to pick up a cigarette in the next 15 minutes after walking out of wherever you've worked with them? If they had quit smoking and they're finished with it all those years? Or what about if you bring them back and they started at 16 and you bring them back to the age of 14 and they firmly put their foot down and they're never going to smoke in the first place? So even when they were 15, 16, 17, 21 and years beyond, it's like they've had a smoke-free life forever.
Yeah.
This is next generation thinking. I'm playing with various facets and aspects of what a person is and who they are and what they're doing in ways that standard suggestion practice in the past years, in past generations, has not thought to do before. The book that I wrote, this is all coming from this. As a matter of fact, I was actually teaching this course in another name at the time at the NGH before I condensed this into this book. So basically, I have now students and colleagues who are taking the book and flipping it open to a random page, and those random pages become that session.
Right.
Because it's a revolutionary approach to how we deal with clinical hypnosis and how we're going to generate impact. What if, and this is another point in the book and in the course, what if their subconscious mind becomes a perpetual self-improvement machine? What if the subconscious mind that's been their adversary for all these years, they go to move left one step. I'm trying to do this on camera correctly, so it's opposite. But say they're going left one step. See, I got to figure it out now. And all of a sudden, they block themselves going left. Or they go to go right, and they block themselves going right. Most clients we've worked with in the past do this to themselves.
Yep.
But what if their subconscious mind now becomes their friend, and you dissolve the adversarial nature? You have an ally, a buddy, a pal, a wise ancient master living in their mind with the flexibility and the adaptability of a child who can all of a sudden make all of the old stuff go away. You know, a child learns how to walk. I mean, you have a young child, right? They learn how to walk. They fall down on their backside. They either go whoops, they laugh or they cry, and they get up and they keep walking.
Right.
You see an adult that's in a car accident and learns how to walk again, for example. They fall down. They're on parallel bars. They're cursing. They're punching things. What's wrong? The resiliency of children is something we've lost.
Yeah.
Also about session work. How many sessions have we done as hypnotists, most of us, where somebody walks out and they're completely upset about some trauma they're releasing? You know, they're mad at their parents, one or the other or both, or their ex-spouse or the current spouse or their kids or whatever it might be, their grandkids, I don't know, whatever it might be. Well, what if every session you do, they walk out laughing? You know the power of laughing? Laughter increases intelligence. It stimulates the immune system. It releases stress. What if we couple a laughter with feeling better love for themselves and the people around them and rising above the minutia of what we're struggling with on a daily basis?
Right.
Every session I do has that in there. And I put, for other hypnotists doing session work, or even anybody listening to this, the idea that every time they shake their head no, they're saying no to the past, and every time they nod their head yes, they're saying yes and reinforcing everything known or unknown to them that brings up a better future for them, and reinforcing adaptable suggestions, not stagnant, not stuck suggestions, adaptable suggestions that are fluid. Beginning right now for the rest of your life, you were smoke-free, cigarette-free, almost as if when you were 14, you put your foot down and made a permanent, lasting life decision to stay smoke-free, even when you were 15, 16, 17. Or on the other hand, perhaps it's like you released the idea of smoking cigarettes from your life 25, 35, 40 years ago and have been smoke-free ever since. Smoking absolutely preposterous. So there's ways to work with time and dimensions and the way people think and react and getting that subconscious mind. In this new chapter of your life, for every no, there's now a yes, that you move forward. You can speak in public. You can do whatever other sessions I've written. My first book, I've written 153 private session scripts. The second book is 80 something. The third book is a way of reinventing how the wheel is spinning on the axle to get these people into a better place. And all of a sudden, the people who are coming to this 1 hour and 50-minute action-packed filled program of stuff that I'm doing at the NGH will be doing different sessions, making them the go-to hypnotist in their area. They're going to be the hypnotist who's getting the results when the person down the block who hasn't attended may not be getting those same results.
Right. Right. Cool.
Well, you asked me one question and I went on for a while. Sorry,
yeah, I think you got it covered though. No, you did, because the next question I was going to ask you was the value that people will get, and you just totally covered that, and so you've covered that, and so I think you did a great job, and so it really comes down to people choosing to carve out this time for themselves and commit to learning this and growing as professionals or paraprofessionals. If people want to learn more about you and what you do as a hypnotist, what's the best way for them to do that?
I have two websites. I have the older one, which is hypnotistpro.com, and I have the current one, the up-to-date one, which is really loaded with information and links to the old one. And then go to worldfamoushypnotist.com and just go there and find out whatever you need to find out from there, including send me an email or give me a call if you want to talk about this program.
Okay.
My whole practice is about taking this to the next level. That's my stage shows. That's my clinical work in private sessions. That's what I write. That's what I do in teaching classes that I'm running around doing training and different things, workshops all over the place. I did one a couple of weeks ago with Carol Denneker's. I've invented to date 78 speed inductions that I personally created. And there will be a touch of that, at least a demonstration of that in this class. So basically right across the board, the program is there. It's a matter of coming with an open mind. I do speak quickly, bring a pen, bring a notebook, write a lot, make sure you're able to write something, There will be also, and the NGH does provide this too, there are recorded versions of this available via MP3. I don't know if they still do CDs, but also the CDs and the MP3s are available on this.
Okay.
So right across the board, it's something. But again, it's groundbreaking stuff. This is not the same old meat and potatoes you might have learned in the beginning. This is a whole new next generation of how to go about this.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, you guys, John and I are out of time, and I don't want him to give away everything because I want you to go to this session and hang out with him and spend time with him. Now, remember, this is Sunday at let me double check, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I had it. I totally had it. Well, it's Sunday. If you look in your program, it's on Sunday, August 13th. It's a 2-hour session, and you can hang out with John and you can learn a lot of stuff. The next generation of innovative secrets and methods to enhance session results. Thank you so much, John, for spending this time with me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you there.
All right, man. Be well.